moment your life falls apart is the moment you find out who was actually running your mind. And for most people, it was never them. You think you're strong. You've never been tested. Then the diagnosis comes back wrong. The marriage ends on a Tuesday. The job disappears in an email with no warning. And suddenly, you're not a person anymore. You're a nervous system on fire, calling everyone you know, explaining, justifying, bleeding the story out to anyone who will listen. You call that processing? It is not processing. It is surrender. Real mental strength was never about not feeling the collapse. Feel it. Machiavelli understood this better than any therapist ever will. Fortune is the arbiter of half our actions, he wrote, but she still leaves the control of the other half to us. Half of what happens to you is out of your hands. The other half, what you do in the next 60 seconds, has always belonged to you. Most people never claim it. They hand the whole 100% to the disaster and call themselves a victim of it. Here's the dare. By the end of this, you will know exactly what the mentally strong do first. Not the therapy version, the real version. The move that looks like weakness to everyone watching and is actually the most ruthless thing you can do in a crisis. I'm not going to tell you yet. You're not ready for it. You need to see how far the collapse actually goes first. Because right now, you're still doing what the herd does, and the herd does not survive the fire. It just burns loud. Phase 1, the collapse. Watch what you do the second the bad news lands. You don't think, you react. Your hands go to the phone before your mind even finishes the sentence. You text your sister. You call your best friend. You post something vague enough to bait concern, but vague enough to protect your ego. And you wait for the comments to tell you that you're going to be okay. This is not strength. This is a hostage releasing information under pressure. Here's what the broke never see about breakdowns. The ones who stay broke, stay stuck, stay owned by whatever just happened to them. They confuse being seen falling apart with actually dealing with it. They mistake the noise for the work. You can cry in front of 100 people and still not have made a single decision. You can vent for 3 hours and still know nothing more than you did before you opened your mouth. Think of the gambler who loses a hand he shouldn't have lost. He doesn't fold quietly and study the table. He goes red in the face. He tells the whole room the deck is rigged. He plays the next hand angry, and he loses that one too. Compare him to the professional 2 seats down. Same bad beat, same loss, who says nothing, folds, and watches. Same table, same fire. 2 completely different animals. You are, right now, more like the first man than you want to admit. Every time something falls apart, you make it a performance. You call it processing your emotions. Machiavelli would call it what it actually is: handing your position to whoever is watching. And it gets worse, because the people around you, the ones nodding along, telling you it's going to be okay, agreeing that it's unfair, they are not helping you get stronger. They are helping you stay exactly where you are. Comfort is not the same as strategy. Sympathy will never rebuild anything. You are not weak because your life fell apart. Everyone's life falls apart eventually. The diagnosis, the divorce, the empty bank account, the friend who was never really a friend. You are weak if the falling apart is the only thing you know how to do well.
Phase 2, the cold reset.
here's the part they never teach you. The moment the powerful lose something, a deal, a marriage, a position, they don't announce it. They go quiet. Not because they're ashamed, because silence is the only thing left they still fully control. And control is the only currency that matters in the first hour of a crisis. This is the move I promised you, the one that looks like weakness. You say nothing. You don't call anyone yet. You don't post anything. You don't explain yourself to a single person, even the ones who deserve an explanation eventually. You sit with it, alone, and you let your nervous system finish its fire without an audience. Everyone watching will think you're in denial. Let them think that. Machiavelli wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. And that gap between the two is not a flaw in your character. It is the only weapon you have left when everything else is gone. You are terrified of the silence, so you fill it with noise, with sympathy, with a version of events you tell so many times it starts to feel true even when it isn't. Stop. The silence is not empty. It is where the next move gets made. This is not about hiding your pain. This is not about pretending you're fine. This is not about performing strength for people who will forget your crisis by next week. This is about buying yourself the one asset panic always steals first. Time to think before you speak. Stay with me, because this is where most people quit the process. They go silent for an hour, feel uncomfortable, and cave. They call the friend, they send the text, they let the fire back out of the box before it's finished burning. The cold reset does not work in an hour. It works over days. The people who rebuild fastest after real collapse are, almost without exception, the ones who said the least in the first week. Phase 3. Compartmentalization as a weapon. Now watch how the game actually works. The general who loses the battle does not spend the night mourning the dead. He studies the map. He separates the grief from the decision, not because he doesn't feel the loss, because the men still standing tomorrow need a commander, not a mourner. You have been taught that compartmentalizing your emotions is unhealthy. Bury it, and it festers, they say. And there is a version of that which is true, the version where you pretend the fire never happened at all. That is not what this is. This is not avoidance. This is not suppression. This is triage. A surgeon does not stop operating because the patient in front of them reminds them of someone they lost. They put that feeling in a room, close the door, and open it again later, on their own time, in private, when the work is done. You are allowed to do the same thing with your own disaster. Grieve the marriage at 11 at night, alone. Run the business, raise the kids, show up to the job at 9 in the morning like a professional. Both are real. Neither cancels the other out. The co-worker who has worked at the same place for 20 years and owns nothing is not there because he lacked opportunity. He is there because every crisis in his life got to walk straight into his workday and take the wheel. Every fight with his wife became a bad quarter at work. Every bad quarter at work became a worse fight with his wife. He never built the wall. You are going to build the wall. This is the part where you stop treating your mind like an open floor plan and start treating it like a building with doors that lock. The grief gets a room. The plan gets a room. The rage gets a room. And it does not get a key to any of the others. Phase 4. The discipline asset. Here's what nobody tells you when everything is gone. The house, the marriage, the title, the plan you had for the next 10 years. There is one thing that survives every collapse, every betrayal, every bad year, and it cannot be repossessed, divided in a settlement, or taken from you in a layoff. Your discipline. Not your motivation. Motivation is a mood, and moods die the moment the weather changes. Discipline is a decision you make once and defend every single day after, whether you feel like it or not. You are not rebuilding your life right now. You are rebuilding the one plank still standing. And everything else gets built on top of that plank later. The man who lost the business but still wakes up at 5, still trains, still shows up sharp, he is not further behind than the man who lost nothing and let himself go soft. He is, in some ways, ahead. He has already proven the one thing that matters under pressure, that his standards do not require good conditions to survive. Comment, I build from the plank, not the wreckage. If you're done waiting for your life to feel stable before you start acting like the version of you that's already rebuilt. I want to see who's actually serious. This is where most people quit, right before the turn. They do the silence. They build the wall between the grief and the work. And then they wait for motivation, for clarity, for the timing to feel right before they act on any of it. The wait is the trap. Discipline does not wait for you to feel ready. It moves while you're still in pieces, because the moving is what puts the pieces back in order, not the other way around. Phase 5. Speed over paralysis. This next move separates the owners from the owned. The professional gambler loses a hand he shouldn't have lost, and inside 3 seconds, he has already made his decision. Fold. Reset. Watch the next hand with a clean head. The amateur tilts. He plays the next 4 hands angry, chasing the loss instead of processing it. And by the end of the night, he has turned one bad beat into a ruined week. Same table, same cards. The only difference between them was speed. How fast they got back to a decision instead of staying stuck in the feeling. You have been stuck in the feeling for weeks, maybe longer. You have replayed the diagnosis, the divorce, the layoff 1,000 times, looking for the version of the story where you come out looking better. Stop looking for that version. It does not exist. And searching for it is the paralysis that's actually costing you the years you have left to rebuild. Subscribe now if you want the rest of what's coming, because the next move on this isn't for the public feed. And I don't repeat myself twice on camera. This is where the room gets smaller and the information gets sharper. Rome did not fall the day the city was sacked. Rome fell in the century before that, when it got soft, comfortable, and slow to react to anything that threatened it. The empires and the individuals who survived their worst years were never the ones who avoided the fire. They were the ones who moved fastest once the fire started. The ones who treated the collapse as a forcing function instead of a funeral. And now you're ready for the move I promised at the start of this. The one that looked like weakness, going silent, right when everyone expects you to explain yourself. Right when everyone expects the noise that was never surrender. That was the moment you stopped negotiating from panic and started deciding from control. The mentally strong do not process out loud. They go quiet. Gather every piece of information the collapse just handed them for free, and they move once, fast, and correctly, while everyone else is still busy telling their story to anyone who will listen. Picture the version of you that comes out the other side of this. Not louder, not more dramatic, quieter than you've ever been, and more dangerous for it. This version of you watches the same chaos that used to run your whole nervous system and feels almost nothing. Not because you stopped caring, but because you already know what to do with it. While the room is still scrambling, still performing its panic for an audience, you are 3 moves ahead, already rebuilding, already quiet, already gone. This costs something. Nobody tells you that part. The price of this kind of composure is isolation in the first few weeks. People will misread your silence as coldness, as not caring, as being fine when you are not fine. You will want to explain yourself. Don't. The explanation is for you to skip, not for you to give. The old version of you needed everyone to witness the collapse to make it feel real. That version has to die tonight. There is a deeper layer to this. How to control not just your own reaction to collapse, but how other people perceive you inside it. So the room never even gets the version of you that's falling apart in the first place. That's a sharper move than I can lay out in full here. Some of it isn't for the public feed. Comment, "I move in silence," if you're done narrating your collapse to an audience and ready to just handle it. I want to see who's actually serious about this, not just watching another video about it. And if this hits something real, subscribe. Not for the algorithm, for yourself. Because the next one goes further than this one did. Everything falling apart was never the test. What you did in the silence after it fell apart, that was the test. Most people fail it in public, one text message at a time. You don't have to.